G'day and welcome to the first podcast of Crossing the Line. A few stories today that are trending on Channel 7. Something interesting, the World Health Organization is estimated that nearly 15 million people were either killed by COVID or by its impact on the overwhelmed healthcare system in the past 2 years. It's more than double the official death toll of 6 million. So I don't know how they could have fucked that up so badly. Big difference between 6 and 15. But let's get into it. This is a Channel 7 story. Reported on Thursday, the UN's agency chief Teredos Adhanom Ghebreyesus, good luck trying to pronounce that dude's name, described the figure as sobering, saying it should prompt countries to invest in more in their capacities to quell future health emergencies. Future health emergencies. It's almost like it's going to happen again. Scientists tasked by the WHO calculating the actual number of COVID deaths between January 2020 and the end of last year estimated that there were between 13.3 million and 16.6 million deaths. That's still a big fucking difference. They were either directly caused by coronavirus or somehow attributed to the pandemic's impact on health systems, like people with cancer unable to seek treatment when hospitals were full of COVID-19 patients. See, now, in Australia, the hospitals have never been full of COVID-19 patients. But you have been turned away from hospitals if you're unvaccinated. I have a friend who has cancer, bowel cancer. He routinely, every 12 months, has to go get polyps removed. To put it nicely. They put him off doing that for fears of coronavirus and getting sick for 12 months. He couldn't go and see his doctor for probably 8 months. He couldn't go. He eventually went and got I think it was the Moderna vaccine, both shots, before he could go into his doctor. Otherwise, they just offer a telehealth. But I don't see how a telehealth is going to help you when they need to do bloods and all that. I'm sure they would redirect you to go and get blood samples taken. But those numbers could be right. It's just, I don't think it was really COVID. I think it was more of them not letting you go to the hospital and people dying of treatable, curable diseases, whether it's cancer or something else. But they're still trying to blame it all on COVID. That's not surprising at all. I don't think anyone would be surprised by it. World Health Organization seems to flip-flop on where they stand all the time anyway. It's China's fault, it's not China's fault. Taiwan exists, Taiwan doesn't exist. Simple things like that. But that's just another bunch of shit that's going on at the moment in Australia. We've got the election coming up, which is interesting. It's magic how the country's just opened up just before the election. And people are getting payouts from the government too. Almost like bribes, but there would be bribes. The government would never bribe anyone. No. So, it's all getting very interesting. I think after this election, whoever gets in, we should have a good run on no COVID for about 12 months, 18 months maybe. You'll hear about it, but No lockdowns, none of that. But I'd put money on that in a couple of years, maybe before the next set of elections after these ones, however long away that will be, maybe it might even be Australian elections, it'd be the American ones. It'll be the American elections. That's what it'll be. We will have another massive, maybe not COVID, maybe something else. I would say it'll be a coronavirus pandemic. Could be World War III. The way Biden's fucking up with Ukraine. The mainstream media seems to be egging war on every single day. Go into Ukraine. Put up a no-fly zone. Shoot down the Russian jet. It's like they want World War III. But they do, because there's a lot of money to be made. I don't think they really care about people dying or any of that. They pretend to. They pretend to care, especially the Americans. They'll carry on about abortion to the end of the day, but they don't really care. You think Americans would, pick a battle, like the Republicans versus the Democrats at the moment? You think they'd pick a battle they could win? They're not going to win on the abortion thing. Women want to be able to get abortions. Men want women to be able to get abortions. Republicans are not going to win on that ever. There will always be abortions, whether they like it or not, and putting Christian values on something like that isn't going to stop it. Some states will have it. Now Roe v. Wade has been overturned, or apparently been overturned. We'll see in a few weeks, I suppose. But that was leaked just the other day. It's amazing how many people leak things that are sensitive like that, and no one ever gets prosecuted or in trouble for it. Remember all the leaks that came out about Donald Trump? Can you imagine if someone was leaking something like that about any president before him? Like if they'd leaked a private conversation in the Oval Office, do you think that shit would be kind of locked down, and whoever said that to the media would be, I don't know, charged? I'm pretty sure there's some people, Edward Snowden, Julian Assange, some of those kind of people, you know. But that doesn't fit the narrative. So no, we can't talk about that. We will be banned. We'll be banned immediately. But it is very interesting to see what's going on in the States at the moment, again, with Roe versus Wade. I think it's just more noise to cover up something that's going on. I don't know about you guys, but definitely some switching shit around, little magic hands in front of you so you don't get distracted. You just keep focusing on that narrative. Don't think for yourselves. Always be angry. There has to be two parties. There's two sides to everything in America. Democrats versus Republicans. Pro-life against, I don't know, whatever they call it there. It's always two. It's been two since the beginning of the Civil War. After that, there was America versus, Nazism, and then what else did they? Cold War, America versus communism, freedom versus communism, capitalism versus communism, however you want to put it. That went on for quite a while. Still going on. It will never end. Then it was, recently it was vaxxed versus unvaxxed, or before that it was MAGA versus Build Back Better, or Hillary. Everyone loved Hillary, didn't they? Nothing sus about that. Oh, what happened to her emails? 75,000 of them. I have to look into that a bit more. But it's always pro against something. They've got to keep America divided, because if they really pulled their shit together and stopped fucking infighting, they could really get some shit done. Like, stuff could get sorted. We could be progressing along with the human race, making things better for everyone. But I think the powers to be always have to keep everyone at each other's throats. Australia's the same. It's the media's the devil in this situation. I think the mainstream media, the old media that's slowly dying and it's in its death throes at the moment, I think they'll definitely have a few more years in them. But I think they're definitely the ones causing all of this. If not, they're sitting there stirring the fucking pot. Anyone that stands above the crowd, tall poppy syndrome, anyone that stands out is immediately cut down. If you want to have a civil conversation with either party, it's immediately shut down. You are deleted. Now Elon Musk has bought Twitter. I'm hoping that freedom of speech comes back to that platform, which might start a domino effect and work its way onto other platforms like YouTube's not too bad. YouTube has some pretty good shit on it. But things like Facebook, I don't see Facebook ever changing. He's that far removed from reality, Zuckerberg. I don't even think it's a monetary thing anymore with him. He doesn't want to make money. He just wants to get his whole little metaverse thing happening. And I don't think it's for the better of humanity. Could be I grew up on the internet. I mean, I don't see it as necessarily a bad thing. But I don't think his version's going to be a good thing. It's kind of unstoppable though, isn't it? Like, unless the nukes start flying, which I don't think is going to happen, but fuck. It's been a few fucking crazy years. I didn't think Australia would be in building internment camps, and I didn't think my neighbours and friends and family, not so much family, but definitely friends and work colleagues, would be like, well, they deserve to go. And you don't deserve to come inside somewhere because you're not vaccinated. I didn't see that happening. That's what scared me the most, or shocked me the most. Scared too, in the last couple of years, like how venomous people got. On Facebook, they're venomous. It's easy to be nasty, mean, and have terrible opinions on the internet. I may do some of that. I may have some terrible opinions. Some of which I will not say in public. Just because the amount of shit you can get if you don't articulate it properly. But I definitely think there has been a bit of a mind shift with people. Like, at work, we weren't mandated to have the vaccine. My job, we're not mandated anymore. Most places aren't mandated in Queensland, New South Wales. I think everyone's pretty much dropping it for now. But definitely there's some sheepish behaviour going on with people. I don't know about you, but when you go out and the only people that were allowed out in the pub were like vaccinated people. You had to show your green check mark, which, you know, wasn't too hard to get without being vaccinated, let's just say that. Theoretically, if I'd been into a pub, they would sit around talking about, say the topic obviously comes up about vaccinations and COVID, because There's nothing else to talk about. There was nothing else going on for 12 months until Ukraine now. So, but the topic had come up and everyone just assumed that everyone there was vaccinated. Everyone just assumed it because you're inside, you're in a pub, you're drinking, have to be vaccinated to be in there. The amount of venom and narcissistic behaviour and speech coming from people that were vaccinated and boosted. A lot of them were boosted. Not all of them would talk like this, but a lot of them, and they'd all agree with each other, sitting there like good little sheep, that unvaccinated people didn't deserve to have dinner out, see their relatives, cross borders, go to funerals or weddings. People my age, in their 30s. Younger people especially were worse, but I don't think it really mattered. It was all ages. With COVID, I missed seeing my grandfather before he died of liver cancer. I missed his funeral. I didn't see my family for 2 years, my nieces and nephews growing up. It wasn't easy, it was hard, but I didn't want to get the vaccination. A lot of people didn't. If you did, you did. My wife had to get it. I didn't want her to. She didn't want to get it either. She got it so she could keep her job. It was mandated. I said, I don't care. Quit your job. We'll fucking sort it out. She already lost her job like the first week of like it hitting Australia. She worked in a bowling alley, which entertainment immediately shut down. It was bowling alleys and places like that, they're running on fumes anyway. They can't afford to sit there and pay people wages when they don't know what the fuck's going to happen. I don't think they went back to work for months at least, yeah. But luckily she found another job. That was before any of the vaccines and shit came out. But she had to go and get 2 shots. Probably would have had to get a third if we didn't drop these mandates when we did. I know her sister had to go and get, I think, 3. They live in Western Australia. Her husband had to go and get 3 as well so they could work. Feed themselves and their newborns. 2 babies. That was interesting. Watching all these people slowly fold to the pressure that the government and other people around them were putting on them. Like there was a lot of the people who wanted to go and get the shot because they were afraid of COVID to begin with. They went out fucking day one. They went out day one and got it. Which whatever, fair enough. Sounded like a good idea, even to me when it first came out. But really quickly it sounded like it was not a good idea. But up to you, like I think that's all it's ever been is like if you want to go get it, you go get it. If you don't want to go get it, don't go get it. I'm not going to sit there and tee off on you because you're vaccinated. And one would think vaccinated people would do the same for unvaccinated. But the amount of nasty comments I hear people say, they should have their kids taken off them. They shouldn't be allowed to be around us. You should have to go and do a rat test every time you go to work. Just things like that. And so you shouldn't be allowed to go to shopping centres. How the fuck are you going to get food? You shouldn't be allowed to go to the service station. Went into a bottle to go and get some rum. That dude in there was a germ freak. And this isn't in a city. This is country. This is not out the sticks, but country town. Go in there, this dude has got hand sanitizer fucking everywhere. And this isn't long ago. This is recently. 2022, probably February, yeah. He had every single QR code you could imagine on the fucking walls. That place looked like it was made out of paper mache. That motherfucker was serious. He had a mask on. To be fair, he looked like he had AIDS, so he could have been really sick. I don't know. He, fair enough, you know. I went in there without a mask on. I usually just put a mask on if they want me to go in. It doesn't really bother me. It's not too much of a fucking fuss. I didn't have one on me. I left it in the car. It was 30 metres away. He goes, you have to have a mask on to come in. I'm like, I'm only going to go grab some takeaways. I'll be out in 5. He goes, doesn't matter. I can sell you a mask for $1. I said, that's a fucking good rort. How many people are you getting with that little scam? He didn't like that. He goes, you can't come in without a mask. He was nice. Be fair, he was nice. I said, look, I'm going to go in here and spend $50 on rum. That's all I want, a bottle of rum to go. Or I can go somewhere else and get it. 10 minutes down the road, there's another place which is closer to home anyway. He ummed and ahed about it for about 10 seconds and then goes, what do you want? Just a bottle of rum. So his convictions didn't last him long enough. As soon as money came involved, he's like, oh, well, I need to make that $50 because it's hard on people. It's hard. My sister's running a pub in New South Wales. Business is shit for everyone. Everyone's got money though. Like, I don't know how. Everyone's buying new cars. You can't buy a Land Cruiser. They're sold out. I'm sure that's got something to do with the chip shortage. But everyone's buying new shit everywhere. Inflation. Let's not talk about it. But business has been shit. We had the floods wipe us out a month ago. Twice this year. Twice. It's fucked. Those people in those shops, they didn't want you to go in there before the flood unless you were vaccinated. They wouldn't let you in. There's a few people getting arrested around. Videos up on fucking Facebook, you know, the drill with Karen and the, I fucking want to get my fucking latte. Yeah. Like, I understand where both parties are coming from, but they had a choice to let you in if you were vaccinated or not. Just like we had a choice to get vaccinated or not. Everyone should have a choice. But as soon as those floods hit, first one, took out a bunch of shops in town. Fucked them up. Does it every time. Wiped them out. Cleaning up. Absolute nightmare. It's fucking disastrous. I feel bad for them. And it's still shit. You can't go down there and go to the shops. There's nothing open. There's no fucking banks. Most of the small businesses probably won't be back. The people who own those shops, the landlords, charge a fucking exorbitant amount of rent. And I can guarantee you their rent just went up. But there were stories of people going, oh, well, you can't come and help us unless you're vaccinated. You can't come down and fill sandbags with the SES unless you show us your green tick and you sign in with a QR code and you wear a mask. There's a question on a Facebook group. It was, I'm not vaccinated, but I want to go and help. Where can I go and help? The amount of people in those comments that were like, well, just stay at home because we don't need that shit too. The army's walking around the fucking streets. It's an apocalyptic fucking nightmare. And you're sitting there worried about someone with a fucking cold. But now those shops are back open. Well, some of them are. When the mandate was still in effect. You had to still have the jab to go in. Some of the shops were like, I don't care whether you're black, yellow, white, blue, purple. whether you're jabbed, triple jabbed, or not jabbed, whether you have COVID right now, we need your help. People went in and helped. And then as soon as that flooding was gone and they opened their shop again, where's the green tick? Can't sit down unless you've got a fucking vaccine. A couple of years ago we had the fires. Queensland was pretty bad, and northern New South Wales was life-changing events. Where my mother lives, that town lost something like 20 houses, hundreds of cattle. I think, luckily, not too many people died, but I think there was like 3 or 4 locally. We got a phone call at midnight. She was on the phone. No, so it wasn't midnight, it was like midday. Said, we're in the school with the kids. We're surrounded by fire. We don't know if we're going to get out. So I left work, grabbed my brothers. We all piled into the cars and we drove 6 hours to get there. When we got there, it was about midnight. We drove into one end of the town, had no contact with them after that phone call, so we had nothing to go on. We had nothing. It was fucking terrifying. We had nothing to go on. And then, as we were driving into the major town they were near, we got a phone call from my mum, and she said, we're coming in from the south. It's about midnight. She had, I think, 11 dogs in the car at that time. 2 kids. Bloody got there. All you could smell was soot. Like, we met each other at the caravan park because they had nowhere to stay. We're trying to find somewhere to stay, but everyone else is in the same boat. Didn't know quite what to do. I'll never forget the smell of just ash and smoke. But my sister's boyfriend and father-in-law weren't there with them. They stayed behind to fight the fires. We didn't get in contact with them because all the telephone lines burnt down. All the next day, we slept in the car park with some lovely ladies from the RSPCA. Actually found us like it's like a trolley bay where you can lock your dog, and we locked all the dogs in there in a car park in the middle of the town for the night, and we slept in the car. The next morning we drove from police station, tried to find a place so my sister and mum and kids could go and have a shower and that. Tried to get into the town where they had left, couldn't get in there. There was police blockades everywhere. Didn't know what the hell was going on. So that later that day, we still couldn't get in contact with her husband and father-in-law. So we got as far as we could before the police blockade. They let us through the first one and said, you can only go as far as that road, otherwise you'll be turned around after that. I said, all right, no worries, that's where we're going. We lied to them, said we're going to that road. Got to that road, and thank God there were some council workers there guarding the road closure, and we talked to them and we begged. We said, dude, we've got to get in there. There's other people in there. There's Energex in there now. It's just a shit show. There's fires still burning everywhere. They let us through. We drove around, got into the town. There's telephone lines, power lines down everywhere. It was like driving underneath power lines. It was insane. It was like a nuke had gone off. There's still fires like going off in the paddock. There's piles of dead cows. And that whole town was just decimated. Like, it wasn't really good to begin with, to be fair, but the whole town was decimated. We drove over the train line, went down to where their property was, and Michael, her husband, and the father-in-law, they were okay. They were burnt a bit, but they'd saved my mum's house, and father-in-law, he'd lost his house. It had burnt down. All the fences, 1,800 acres of cattle property, all the fences were gone. A lot of the cows were gone. It was an absolute disaster. There was nothing there for them, nothing there for the kids. So we packed them all up, drove them back to Queensland. They stayed with us for like 2 weeks until they could get some shit organised. And the amount of like local support from people was astounding. There was SES everywhere. The police would do. When we were in the main town, you'd see the fire off in the distance, and the wind would change, and you would see the entire convoy of like firefighters, council with graders, bulldozers, excavators, all that shit, and they just charge through town under police escort, going with the wind into the danger spot and trying to fight that fire. And everyone was, no matter what you asked for, everyone was so helpful. You know, like those lovely ladies, I think it was RSPCA, they found a spot to stay that night. It was only a car park, but it was better than nothing. Had 11 dogs with us or something, and we locked them up in this cage they gave us. The police, even banks and things like that. And everyone in the town was helpful. They helped each other. They took care of each other. They saved each other in a lot of circumstances. But that was an actual disaster. That was an actual problem. That was killing people. That was a threat. And everyone banded together, except for the Prime Minister, who apparently was in fucking Hawaii. But, you know. And the only people who didn't help, I can't say that as they helped, but the $55 million donations to the Red Cross that disappeared and no one's seen. What the fuck happened with that? But my point is, that was a major disaster, and everyone banded together and they took care of each other. This coronavirus bullshit, it's different. The media's turned everyone against each other, the vaccinated against the unvaccinated. Even I've had people arguing about what vaccine they got. Oh, you got the Moderna? Oh, okay. I got the Pfizer. So no one gives a shit. Aren't they all supposed to help? Except for the Johnson & Johnson, that'll just clot you out straight away, apparently. I'm joking. But everyone banded together. Everyone was an Australian that day. Everyone was an Australian that entire time. Everyone would have done anything to help anyone. It was so heartbreaking as a nation, watching the entire country burn into the ocean. People were fleeing into the fucking ocean. And we all stuck together and took care of one another. The media didn't turn it into propaganda. And that's what we should have done during this entire COVID thing. We should have stuck together and taken care of each other. And because it's obviously dangerous to some people. It's not dangerous to everyone. But no, they didn't. And even in the wake of another disaster, some of the worst disasters we've had, these floods, they're devastating. Especially down there where they had the fires. They were wiped out again for a second time this year. And they weren't even recovered from the fires. And things like, my mother wasn't allowed to go into the hospital with my grandfather, who was, I think, 86 before he died. It was terminal. She wasn't allowed to go into the fucking hospital because she was unvaccinated. She was the only person with him He wasn't all there in the head. He would get confused really easy. He didn't have Alzheimer's properly yet, but it was getting to that point. He was in a new town. He'd moved up from South Australia to pretty much die there. And he was afraid. They wouldn't let my mum in to comfort him or take care of him. And this wasn't even in like the height of the pandemic or anything. This is just some people who have a bee in their bonnet about, oh, well, the government told me this is better. But you're a fucking nurse. Those people were nurses and doctors. Shouldn't they know better? I don't know. The amount of comments I still hear, even from vaccinated people who've got COVID, they've gotten over COVID, said, oh, it was fucking nothing. It was just a cold. I had a sneeze. Guy I work with today, he's just come back. He's just had COVID last week. Basically had it for about a week. He got it at a music festival, as you do. He said, no, slept most of the time. He was a bit of a head cold and slept most of the time. Slept for like fucking 12 hours a night. Really lethargic. Got over it. Went out, mowed his lawn. Went back inside. Slept for another like 12 hours. It wasn't a big deal to him. He was vaccinated, yes. So maybe it helped him. Don't know. Guessing it probably did. But he was one of those people that was sitting there carrying on about unvaccinated people shouldn't be allowed to go to work. And we work outside in the sun. I hope all these people that were tricked, not the people who went and got the vaccine like for their own reasons and they wanted to get it, the people who were tricked into getting it, one day will realise, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't have acted so nasty to those people who didn't get it. Because, like, if you just change a couple of words around with vaccinated and unvaccinated, if you just change them around to black and white, Jew and Aryan, Christian, Muslim, however you want to put it, that talk gets very dark very quickly. And I am terrified to see what they're going to have in store for us next time, because I believe this whole shit show was just a trial run. I believe it was a little practice session. Well, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hopefully see you next time. Goodbye.